Okay, we are live on the clock today. Thanks for joining us. Make sure that you click on to the comments section when you get on so that we can make sure we recognize you. I want to turn over our clock today, get it going one more time, and thank God for another day to serve Him, another great day. I've already been on my 3 mile walk today, and I had Pastor Fidel Pacina come over here and walk with me yesterday, and then we even went to the weight room. So I love that. That's the best form of coaching or mentoring you can, because you're doing something, you're working together, and that's how men learn. So that's your first lesson today. We're going to be talking about coaching again today, because I believe that is the extension of your life. It's how you pass on great wisdom and attributes to other men, and they carry the torch. So I think without you coaching or discipling, I think everything that you learn becomes lost. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose things. We want to keep things going for the kingdom of God. Today, I have a couple of guys that are going to join me on the program. It's only a 30-minute program. So if you like it, make sure that you pass it on to somebody else. Tell other people about it. We do it every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. or try to. If not, we'll let you know about it. And we do it live on Facebook. So today I've got a couple of guys that are going to be on with me. And that's my brother, Brent Watkins. He's a coach for 40 years and a state championship coach, and among other things. And then I have also Anthony. Pastor Anthony Stewart is going to be with me, and he is from Powerhouse Church in Katy, Texas. And Anthony was a high school athlete, and then he got his degree at Baylor University, and he was an executive for Target. And so he knows about coaching people and managing organizations. Now he manages and coaches at Powerhouse Church. He's a Manhood U graduate. And I thought it'd be good to have two different perspectives on today on not only how to coach, but how to find a good coach is the topic of what we're talking about today. So here's Brent. Brent, welcome to the program.
Morning.
Morning. You're up in Malakoff right now.
That's correct.
Yeah. So last time you were on the program, we had you and Dad down here at the house.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Had the lake in the background. I don't
That's
have that
right.
this morning.
That's right. I need to have that background some more. I like that one. People did too. So how are you doing? Now that football season starts in 3 weeks, how are you handling it, the detox?
It's tough on me. This is the first Monday was the first Monday of starting football with the coaches in the last 40 years. I hadn't been doing it. So I'm really itching. I'm sure that I'll find relief. And this coming Monday, the kids will start, and I'll find somewhere to be on the sideline watching somebody.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, without any responsibility.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll see how that goes.
Maybe the fans will love me now.
Yeah, sure they will. Because you'll be just like them. Awesome. Well, I want to say hello to Kevin. He's on. Glenn, Coach Sepsik's on today, and then Walter Davis is on. Thank you guys for being on today, and I may stop periodically to do that. But I think it's important that people watch and they share this, because this is hi Timothy. This is our attempt is to have no fluff and only stuff. To get right to the point, to say what we need to say, because you can only retain so much anyway. And we hope that, good morning, Eddie, and we hope that you get something off of here that you can go and do. I'm so tired of sermonettes, that have nothing to do with action. And so we're gonna do our very best to not just be philosophical, but to be action oriented on here. Let me bring Pastor Anthony on with us, Brent. Okay. Anthony, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Pastor. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You're coming to us from Katy, Texas.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on today.
You bet. This is your first time to be on, but you've orchestrated a lot of them for me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that behind the scenes, Anthony does a whole lot of stuff. And it's kind of like Brent for years as a defensive coordinator. A lot of people look at the offense and the score, but if you can keep other people from scoring, you have a lot better chance of winning. And that comes from working long hours. Just both of y'all did the same thing on behalf of the team. And many times people don't see that, but they do see it in the wins and losses. Anthony, you played ball in high school, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I did.
Yeah. What position were you?
Cornerback, DB, defensive back.
DB. All right. What high school was it?
A small school in northern Louisiana called Lakeview High School in Campy, Louisiana. About an hour south of Shreveport.
Okay. Nice. What one thing do you think you learned from your time in athletics that you're using today? I'll put you on the spot. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you that. But,
Okay.
The things that you learned in working out, the things that you worked in discipline, also maybe something from your coaches.
Yes, sir. One of the things I learned was how to take feedback, how to take constructive feedback. The scripture I think about is Proverbs 27:17, where it says, as iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. One thing I've learned is that as we are being sharpened, it's actually to help us to improve, to develop, and to implement things into our lives that may not be there. So I have to also understand that when I'm being coached, I not only get permission to be held accountable from my coach, I have to also trust that he has my best interests at heart. And so that's why I'm able to receive correction and feedback, because I know he cares about me, not just as an athlete, but as an individual outside of the sport. But also he cares that, hey, I have all this experience. If I just listen, there's some things you don't have to go through if you just trust the process and just listen to what I'm telling you. I have the experience. I've been there, done that. And just trust what I'm telling you, and you'll succeed even faster than where you are now. And so that's
And how have you seen that transfer over into ministry now that you've gone through Manhood U? You actually help us run Manhood U, but you're also a graduate of that. And how many years have you been on staff now at Powerhouse?
5 years on staff, but 12 years at the church.
12 years, okay, watching the program and being part of it, but 5 years actually working behind the scenes. So how have you seen that transfer? What you just said you learned from your coaches, how have you seen that transfer into your life with the hundreds of men that we have at the church?
One thing that I've learned that in corporate, I can pay you to do a job, but when it comes to the kingdom of God in the spiritual realm, I have to be able to influence you to do what I'm asking you to do and to follow the vision.
Word.
And so being coached is very different now than it was in the corporate sector, because now I'm being challenged to influence people and work out some internal things that's within me that I didn't realize that were there or were not there. So as yourself, Pastor Jeff, you have over 30 years experience doing this. Pastor Robert has over 25 to 30 years experience as well. So why not ask you all the questions and get faster and better results than trying to figure it out on my own? And my results may not be there as quickly as I look for them to be. And so the coaching aspect doesn't change. From that aspect, I just have to make sure I find the right coach, listen to that coach, implement the things he's asked me to do as iron sharpens iron. And then I have seen that we have come out with better results when coaching has happened and when I've submitted to that process.
Good answer. Almost like I gave you that answer. Wasn't it, Brent? He just said that right there. And so he's been doing this. Actually, if you're watching Anthony, he's been doing this for quite a while. So it's become who he is. And I think that's how we train leaders at Powerhouse. We teach to teach. We put them in positions where they can learn every aspect of the ministry. We father them, we coach them, mentor them, and then they do the same. And I think you can see that by the answers that Anthony is giving. That's why he's a great young leader. How old are you, Anthony?
40.
40 years old. Amazing.
Yeah, same age as our boys.
Yeah.
Appreciate that question and answer.
Same amount of time that you coached and you just retired. So he was born when you started coaching.
Sure.
That's a good thing, though. 40 is a great age. If men are watching this today, it's a great age. You start finding yourself. You start answering questions. So, Brent, I want to bring you into it now. Thank you, Anthony. I'm going to bring you in. Stay with us, though, Anthony. Brent, I want to bring you into this thing. You and I were talking just a minute ago about some of the rewards of coaching and how people ask you certain things. You guys won the state championship, which is the epitome of every coach in whatever sport they're in is to win it all. So, right. As a Christian, the epitome of what we do is to win souls. There's nothing higher than that, and just entertaining people. That's not the epitome of being a Christian. And so church has got to be more than entertainment. And so we look at winning souls and then turning those souls into soul winners. as how we do this thing. That's a win for us. But when you guys won the state championship, that was a highlight of what you've been trying to do. You gotten close several times,
Right.
and so explain. You said somebody asks you all the time, what's the greatest feeling? Just run us through that story again. You do it better than I
Okay.
do.
Well, to start off with, you got to be kind of patient because it took me 37 years to be a part of winning a state championship. It is the ultimate goal, but you can't jump ship and run around and hope that you land lucky. You got to get somewhere and develop a culture. And through that culture, then it eventually becomes productive enough to be a champion.
That's
and
good.
people start
That's
believing
good.
you.
Yeah.
So I know we got a lot of that going on right now, NIL, and let's just go to the next best place for us.
Well, Brent, you have it in churches too. People get
Amen.
upset and they just leave this one and go to that one, leave this one, and they never grow. They always come back in and have to be repotted.
Right. And,
Yeah.
I guarantee you down the road, they're thinking, man, I wish I would have.
Absolutely. And
wish
they're
I
too
would've.
embarrassed to go back. Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as the epitome of the sporting realm, or the thing that I've enjoyed and what we'll get to enjoy as Christians and as coaches is there's a lot of victories in life, that when we're going through, there's a lot of wins. Everybody loves the come from behind victory or the underdog victory where you're not supposed to win and you win them. And I've experienced all of those. But the number one thing that I think this feeling just exudes and just comes to life inside of you, and you only know it whenever it happens to you. But if you're in a game, like we were in the big state championship game, and this has happened to me before many times on other games, but the state championship game, it got down to a few minutes and we had to have a really big fourth down hold. And we did it on an incomplete pass. And then we came back and we got the ball. And there was still enough time where we had to get a first down. They had timeouts. And then we got the first down. And when we got the first down, I looked over at one of the coaches. I said, we just won this thing. And it's that time that is our spiritual championship also. What do you do when you know that you've got victory and there's still time left on the clock? Because that's the true enjoyment, isn't it? Whenever we get to sit back and see that come to life.
Right.
Yeah, the other games are fun when you win them, but there's some kind of feeling when you're on the sideline and you're working in God's plan and you know it just happened and now you get to experience that time. It's unbelievable.
It
Might
is.
not be long, but it's there.
But that's what you work for. That's your
Yes, sir.
purpose, and that's what we all strive for. Sometimes you just have to do what Brent did, guys, and you have to put it into words. You have to describe it so that other men know what it is we're actually doing here. And I think that's what's so neat about that story is that so many people, I think, Anthony, you've seen it at Powerhouse and other places. We've got a great church, but if we're not careful, we'll fall into the same rut everybody else does. And we'll just be happy to be happy, and be saved to be saved. And that's not the plan. The plan is always got to be laid out there is that you're saved to be a savior. You're healed to be a healer. Everything has to be paid forward to get more people going to heaven than going to hell. That is the game. There is no other game. And all these other sidetracks about, how can I have a better business and how can I feel good about myself? And I'm telling you, all those things will work if you'll just get the main thing to be the main thing. All those other things line up, and you win the victory, and then you can experience that victory. And I think that's a great analogy for today. I read this last week, and I want to read this again. I want to see what y'all think about it. Tom Brady said, you need coaches that push you outside your comfort zone because that's how you grow and that's how you develop self-confidence and self-esteem. They push you to deal with failure.
Amen.
A coach will push you to see, we normally don't have enough in us to push ourselves to failure. And that's why I say is that most successful men have a mentor. They have, if you look deep enough, they have a coach. They figured that thing out and they lined up behind him and they did what he said to do, even when they didn't want to do it. And they grew and they became great in and of themselves. And then their coach passed away and he was the old grizzled guy. And then they became the old grizzled guy. But they never saw themselves as the standard bearer. They always saw themselves as the rookie, the young guy, because he made them feel like they had tons of potential and they could work it out if they just keep trying. But then one day he leaves and you turn around and there's all these young men looking at you. And when you realize that they're getting off the course, you have to be the one that brings them back on. And if you don't do it, they will fall in the ditch. There is no other recourse because most people cannot or will not guide themselves. What do you think about that, Anthony?
Yeah, I think it's so true, Pastor Jeff. And Coach Brent said something that was very key. He said he had to wait 37 years before he captured his first championship. And one thing you taught us, Pastor Robert has taught us, and we have Man Church tonight every Wednesday, is our Man Church and our strategy for men is 4 yards and a cloud of dust. It's not a sexy game. It's not a passing game. It's rough and rugged football to where we can go to our bench, which is discipleship of men who's ready to carry the ball, carry the torch to do what God has called us to do. So it may not be as pretty. And sometimes we compare ourselves to other churches, other people. He may have compared himself to other coaches that have won a lot faster than he did. But he has so much depth and so much experience inside of him that I would lean towards because he knows how not just he doesn't know just how to win, but also how to lose and to lose and then readjust, come back, game plan to get better for the next game. And so I think that's what men needs in our society is, hey, there are times we will win, but we will lose. But how do we go back to be coached, strategize, get better? Pastor Jeff, you say it all the time about Michael Jordan wanted to be coached very hard. Mm-hmm. He was the greatest of all time in the basketball sector.
Right.
But he wanted to be coached hard because he understood that, hey, I may have these wins, but I got to get better because other people around me are getting better. Yeah. But I have to be coached. And so we have to allow those coaches, as Coach Brent said, to coach us hard. And we have to have high expectations of ourselves, but also high expectations of others.
Amen. Very good. Well put.
Yes.
Here's another one, Brent. I want to ask you to comment on that. Mm-hmm. Coach Landry, he said, a coach is someone who tells you what you don't want to hear, but as you see what you don't want to see, so you can be who you've always known you could be.
Amen.
That good?
That's good stuff. Yeah. That's I tell you what I've seen over the years, and I didn't share this earlier, but I have retired. This is my first year in retirement, but what I saw over the years, especially at the end, is that what we've taken away from young men is there's no real way for them to establish a rite of passage anymore, because a rite of passage is always linked to a tough situation that a tough man or a tough coach pushed us through, if you think about it. So we're so proud of our rite of passage, but when that's been taken away from us, it's hard to accomplish that on your own. You need that guy there. Back when we played years ago, two-a-days, they were actually two-a-days. Nowadays there's not that grind. There's not that physicalness to the game anymore. It's all this other stuff. UIL just came out with a new thing. It's called the wet bulb, and I know it's going to be good for kids.
You better say that again. You better say it slower.
Don't get me wrong.
This is the wet bulb.
Wet bulb, B-U-L-B, and
that's foreign to everybody listening here, Brent. They don't know what that means.
It's a temperature instrument which puts together the humidity, the heat, the wind, everything out there, and then it determines whether you should practice your kids outdoors or not. And it comes to there's a place on there where it's 85 degrees and you got to take these certain stipulations, and I'm going, good Lord, could I have some 85? You know what I mean? 85 would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's a nice day in Texas.
And if it gets to a certain thing, you cannot practice. Against rules. It's against the rules. So we've taken away that hard stuff, that stuff that we sit around and talk about. So you remember old coach so-and-so that made us do them bear crawls and maybe that was tough on us. Maybe it was. But that made us who we were. Yeah. Because we were tough and we were men, and now we can handle anything, you know. And
we knew that. We had confidence.
Sir. Yeah. Well, they don't have it much anymore. You know what I mean? They can go in and say, we didn't even have to wear thigh pads or knee pads. We worked out in shorts today. They didn't have to tell me what to wear because I wanted all the protection I could have against the bigger guys.
So Brent, when you were last year and the year before, the good thing, one thing, Anthony, I didn't know if I told you about Brent is, he went to a different school for the last 2 years. After they won the state championship, he was offered a job and he took it. But the core that he had developed went from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, 7th grade, and 8th grade. All those kids for 15 years ran his system, and they ran the offense. So when he left, the team behind him, they went back to the state championship again. So 2 years in a row, because of the foundation that he was able to lay. It's the good foundation put in there by the senior members. You understand, when the younger ones followed them. And then he went to the other school and they did excellent over there as well. But I'm just saying those are so critical that we never quit not only honoring our fathers, but we listen to them, because they have been where we are going. And I think it's one of the most critical things that we have to help other churches, other men do, is learn how to stay in line, even when they don't want to. Stay in line, stick it out, honor God by honoring that man ahead of you, and you will win more than you lose. And to me, that's the culture of Powerhouse. I don't know that we can ever lose that. We started something called Manhood U about 3 years ago. And my concept there was that to take these concepts, and Anthony knows I teach athletic concepts there sometimes. We'll do the shot put, the discus, we'll throw the football, we'll have little routes, because most guys have never done that, not even a little bit. So they don't catch any of the stuff we're trying to teach them in the pulpit. We did basketball. We did 3-man weave. I thought we were going to kill people on a 3-man weave. It was crazy, crazy hilarious. But it was like, oh my God, no. So we're so far behind, in our manhood in the church. And then you look up and you get this invasion coming from the South over, in Iran, Iraq, the Muslim Brotherhood. They're invading. Well, everything they teach is toxic masculinity. And over here, we have almost lost our masculinity. Well, who do you think is going to win in a battle? You tell me. The ones who've gone through 2-a-days or the ones who couldn't spell 2-a-days? And we call ourselves Christians lined up under a king that's never lost a battle. What are we going to do? Just throw up our hands and pray? Is that how it works? Is our faith that strong? I know for a fact that the faith of a Christian is not very strong, because only 4% of them give 10%. They have no faith. If you can't give a dime off a dollar, don't tell me you can come up against the guy that's going to cut your head off. See, so when we train young men on the field of football or basketball or whatever, it should be a natural transfer over into the spirit. That's where the toughness has to come. We need guys who have been in the military, guys who have seen that, or guys who are willing to learn, so that we can rise up to the occasion, because being a missionary is not an easy deal. I mean, we need tough people. And I believe that's still our calling today at Powerhouse Church. We weren't put there to be an average church. We were put there to bring this challenge to men. I want to leave you with this one guy, not leave you with him. This be our last talk point. Senator from Alabama, his name's Tommy Tuberville. Have you heard of him?
Coach Tuberville, yeah.
He was a coach.
Yeah.
And I love the way he thinks, because he's black and white. It's either right or it's wrong. And that's the kind of leadership that we need. And we need to not waver on it based upon our what we think our attendance on Sunday is going to be. We've got to stop that. We've got to say the right thing. And guess what? Before long, the people who think right will gravitate into your congregation. And then you'll have a strong, large congregation. Tommy said this. He said he's pushing to ban Sharia law nationwide and called out the genocide of Christians by Muslims. Thousands of Christians are being killed today in Nigeria. Do you know that? Every day, if you just turn on the TV, thousands. They'll go into their homes and they murder them. Christians, especially if you're a pastor. This extreme ideology is straight from the pit of hell, he says. He's talking about Islam. And it has no place in American society. You won't hear from Democrats about how radical Islamist terrorists are currently carrying out a mass genocide of Christians in Nigeria. And he goes on and on, but he's pushing for that. Well, thank God for men like him.
We need more men that are strong in their mind and in their heart running for office so that they can make these critical and tough decisions. That's why we have Manhood University. But we can't do it alone, guys. I mean, we're just one place. We have to have Christian men all over the world say, enough is enough. Let's stand up. We need to run for school board. We need to run for everything we can. City council, mayor in your city. We need to do all these things and quit looking at someone else doing it. The time for sitting on your butt is over. And these are words that Brent uses every day when we're challenging young men. Anthony should be using them every day. Just let me know you are. I know you are. Man Church tonight. We can't be weak any longer. We have to sound the bell. If you don't, you will be a slave to what's coming. And the worst words I could ever tell you are, I told you so. That's something that a mentor never wants to say. So it's better that you listen to the old man and do what he says to do so that you can win this thing before it gets started. Anthony, what do you think about that?
Hey, we always say it here, if it's not sin, I'm in. And I think one analogy used earlier was a lot of these pastors and leaders come to Manhood U, and we do run those routes. We do physical activity. But I've also seen the guys who may not be as athletic, if they just listen to what you tell them, do it exactly how you say to do it, and they just use some skill that God has given them to use, they usually end up doing well in those drills because they listened to the coach and they did it exactly how he actually do it. So even if we may not
had Ray Carr was 82 years old. And he ran a passing route.
He did.
There you go. Probably a comeback. Yeah.
And he did better than most of the young guys, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely, he did. And sometimes we focus on our inability, but we have to trust God to give us the ability, but also to trust the coach that God's put in our life to implement and do the things he's said to do. And then as we trust him, he'll guide and show us what to do. And then we build confidence as we move forward in the direction of the leadership God has placed in our life. So I absolutely agree that, if we don't know what to do, we just lean on our coach to give us instructions, and then we run that route.
Amen. Brent, what do you think about what I said about Tommy Tuberville about being in other words, that's the height. He was an athlete, then he became a coach, I think Auburn, Alabama. And then he went in, he said, okay, I gotta do more. And I see my plight as that, being a coach, then doing more in the spirit realm with a church, then moving to the ranch. Now I'm looking at this thing going, Lord, is this where we're at? Do we need to really train men to lead the country again? And I think we do. What do you think, Brent?
I see, from an outsider looking in over the years, even though you're my brother, I've never been a weekly attendant, to the church just due to geographical situation. I lived a long ways away from there. But what I see through Powerhouse, and I see all the organizations from Manhood U, to the ranch and everything, is it's kind of on the exact same basis that we try to develop a championship team with. And I see you going through it the right way. I used to say that if you're going to go listen to my brother preach, you better wear your steel-toed boots. You can't be wearing flip-flops, because he's so black and white and just lays it out how it is.
Yeah.
But that's what works with men, not self-proclaimed men, but men. And that's all we can deal with is the truth. And we have to have it. We yearn for it. And you said a minute ago, you said, I don't want to have to say, I told you so. But we only hear those words, I told you so, after there's been a missed opportunity. Yes. That's the only time you'll ever hear that word. But I want to end with this, and I'll quit. We have a sign that we hang up and it was hung in the coach's office, and this goes with Powerhouse. It says, "What we tolerate, we encourage." And the reason I say that is I go out and I'll go around and I'll still go watch kids work out and stuff, and it's you're either a to the line kid or you're a through the line kid. You're one or the other. You're going to get close to that line and you're going to let up, or you're going to bust it through that line. And a winning coach will address it, while a losing coach will ignore it. So when your young men are working that and they're going through their drills and everything, and they're letting up before they get to the finish line, that's their immaturity, okay? But it makes you a winner or a loser whether you address it or not. So if you just let it go, you're letting that man fail. You're not pushing him to do the best that he can. So that's where I kind of see it. And it's so easy. Y'all go watch them. You can see them. They'll let up way before they get there. And then you'll see those 3 or 4 kids that are just busting it. They don't see a finish line. When that becomes the majority of your team, get ready for the trophy. You're
Good.
going to win.
Good. Thank you for that, Brent. And
Mhm.
thank you for 40 years of training up young men. That's quite an accomplishment. And I know you're not over. It's not over yet. I think you'll probably be doing something else next year. So,
Probably. Thanks for
it's
having
gonna
me.
be but I'm going to let you get good and bored for 1 year, and we're going to do some fishing. So,
Amen.
Anthony, thank you for being on the program today. I think you're a wise young man. You're taking the right steps. You're not a suck up, none of that kind of stuff. You're your own man, but you've decided to do it the smart way. I listened to my dad growing up. I don't know how I did that. I really think about that. Of course, Brent was there the whole time. He's only 2 years younger than I am, and I don't know what was instilled in us, Brent. I just felt like Dad was like our hero. When we were little boys, and just do what he says, and you'll win. And most of the time, we did. Most of the time, it worked out. So I got in that pattern. Then when I met, other pastors or leaders or coaches, I would do the same thing because I thought that's how you do this. And so when we started the church, I assumed men understood that. And I found out real fast they don't. So it's up to us to train them and teach them to leave a team. And we're going to have to train a team of men if we're going to protect our country, to protect our state. There's an $80 million mosque configuration going up right in your town, Anthony. Right there. And I know you've had some battles in the school board and some different places. We need to rally the guys with you and Pastor Robert, and we need to address the situation. We need to have strong men on these boards and making decisions to support our governor and our president as well. So anyway, I'll leave you guys with the last thought too. I've got it on here. It said, if what you're doing is not working, why don't you go back and do what your coach told you to do yesterday?
That's a marvel idea.
Yeah.
So I think we'll leave you with that. If you're looking for how to find a coach, we wrote a book. It's called Take Your Place. You can go to genesisteam.org, or you can go to my name, gfwatkins.org, and you can order these. And why I wrote this on the back, you can see a picture of me in my younger days when I met a coach. His name was Ed Cole. And this is a story of how I found him and how I related to him. So you have to find your coach, and then once you identify the coach, you have to commit to him, because there'll always be coming something up that he'll tell you that you don't want to do. And remember, it was your commitment. That's what you need to remember. I committed to this man. I heard from God. This is the man in my life. And then when he tells you something you don't like, you stick to it because God told you to. And then once it pulls you through that, then you've learned he's a lot smarter than I thought I was. And that's that trend that goes on to your sons and to your spiritual sons. Get a hold of Take Your Place. I think you'll enjoy it, and let us know what you think about it. You guys, Walter, thanks for being on. Brandon, I see you on there. Rolling, thank you for being on today. You guys have some good comments. Cirillo, good to see you. Thank you, men, for joining us. Please, David Long, good to see you today. Please pass this on to other people. Let's get this thing out there where people can understand that you have to find a good mentor or coach if you're going to be successful. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Anthony, for being on the program today. May you be blessed. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.